Great morning, great morning. Happy Friday. Hello out there. I said hello out there.
Good morning.
Russ from Philly.
Hey,
Dennis, what's
Lou.
going
How you
on?
doing?
Hi
All
there.
right.
Good morning. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. This is a super duper special leadership meeting today. I'm glad y'all made it. I do see quite a few people still trickling in. I'll give them a moment here. But while we're doing that, while everyone's getting situated for the session, I do want to again welcome you to a special edition of the leadership meeting today. I do have a quote on screen. See, ordinarily, the Friday session is reserved specifically for the leaders in our organization. So that would be like the MGAs, the SGAs, your uplines, that sort of thing. We typically go over higher level organizational material and that kind of stuff. But sometimes on Fridays, we have some special material that we want to issue out to everybody, like today. And before I get into that, I'm sure you're all here for the AHIP training, which is awesome. But I do have a quote on screen. It says, the leader has to be practical and a realist, yet must talk the language of the visionary and the idealist. So again, just like last week's quote, it's about balance. You have to be practical and you have to be real. You have to see the situation for what it is, but you have to have hope. You have to speak positively no matter what. And it's not a blind brainwashing like, oh, everything's good all the time, because that's foolish, right? A fool does that. Leaders are able to not only spin a situation to see the positives, but also to understand where they're at and what they have to do to get to the ideal situation. So that's just a little quote. It's from Eric Hoffer. He won the Presidential Medal of Freedom back in the 80s. It was like right around the time he passed away, but his career was spent in the moral world of figuring out how society can better itself. So just a little thing to get it kicked off, a little something to get your brain working. If you don't know who I am Mike. I am the head of recruiting here at Global. My job is to make it easy and quick to go from who is Global all the way to Global is awesome. I love working with Global and everything in between. So it's onboarding, contracting, co-op campaigns, editing the website, giving you guys tools to make it easier to do what you do, which is overall just helping beneficiaries in the senior world. Some of you have talked to me one-on-one. I'd be happy to communicate with you, whatever you need. If you need something and you're not quite sure where to find it, chances are I can help you do that. So I'm happy to oblige whatever it is that you need. But moving on. Actually, let's jump right into that. Joe is our regional sales manager, basically, for the Southeast. So it's basically anything from Texas over to Florida up to the Carolinas. Joe oversees that for the direct HIG or global team. And he's comes to us really with a lot of experience in the Medicare world. He's been a top producer at carriers. He's been on basically on both sides of it, so he's got a great perspective. Joe, are you on already? Are you able to unmute yourself? Are you here?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Hey, Joe. Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, how you doing?
Fire and frogs here, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. I know you had some challenges earlier this week. We'll just call it that. But I'm glad you're back on the horse, man.
Yeah, thanks. Well, if I sound like Kermit the Frog or a member of the Vienna Boys Choir, you know why. I had a sore throat. So
is that out of the ordinary for you?
Well, just depends on what day and what time.
Gotcha. Well, listen, I have the slides, so you just tell me when you're ready to proceed.
All right, let's rock and roll into this thing. Hey, folks, welcome. For those of you who don't know, my name is Joe Walker. Thank you for your introduction, Michael. And hey, it's that blessed time of year again, folks. The one where we as agents look forward to like kids at Christmas. It's recertification, and this is an exciting time of year. Over the course of the next few months, folks, we're going to be able to hone our skills as professionals. We're going to be looking at the new and exciting opportunities that our carriers are presenting for our beneficiaries. So this is a good time. And it's whether you've been an agent for just a day, or you're like me and you've been selling Medicare since Moby Dick was a guppy. Folks, there's a lot for us to learn, isn't there? This is one of the most heavily regulated industries in the country, and so it should be. We're talking about the lives of our senior population that is that's been entrusted to us to assist them in making healthcare decisions or decisions about their financial futures. So we absolutely need to know what we're talking about. Michael, I'm not able to see the slides. Oh, that's magic. Did you go to the first one? Or is it? Let's get started. Okay. Well, go ahead and pull that slide down for just a second, Mike. I want to talk. Folks, we have the responsibility to learn our craft. I know a lot of certification each year. I know some agents have a tendency to look at it as something that is a necessary evil. And that's the wrong attitude to have. Everything about our business, folks, is about attitude. You know, we as insurance professionals should be looking forward to this time, because now we're able to deepen our skills, deepen our understanding, so we're able to position, our products in the best way for our customers that are counting on us to know what we're talking about. And that's the purpose of the AHIP. The AHIP is a learning platform. It is an instructional platform. It is not just an obstacle to overcome to get to where you can sell. That's a problem so many agents have, and that's why the AHIP for so many agents is intimidating. So this morning, I want to talk a little bit about attitude and approach to the AHIP. How, hopefully by the end of this session, your position on the AHIP is going to be a little bit different, or recertification in general, and give you a track to run on to where we can get this done right the first time. Because it's, I know there's some intimidation factor in there because, there's, you have to have it done in 3 attempts and things like that. But again, if we approach this with the right attitude, look at this from the proper perspective, that this is our learning platform, and we are able to become better at what we do, and then all of a sudden this doesn't become intimidating. So getting into the meat and taters of this thing, you as an agent have a choice. Again, you're an entrepreneur. You get to make all these wonderful decisions about your company. And if you decide to sell one carrier or multitude of carriers for Medicare Advantage, you have a couple of opportunities. It's now been the position of a lot of carriers to have their own in-house training, where you don't have to take the AHIP. You can go ahead and take the training that each carrier provides. And it's supposed to be on par, or is by necessity, is to be on par with your AHIP training. And the advantage to doing an in-house type of certification is that it doesn't cost you anything. The AHIP, there's a cost. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But there's no cost. But the drawback is that it's only particular to that carrier. So if you were to go to Aetna and you were to do their Aetna certification to include their career agents do, they don't take the AHIP, they take Aetna certification. Then all of a sudden you want to sell Cigna. Well, Aetna certification will not transfer over to Cigna. So guess who gets to do that wonderful opportunity all over again? So the AHIP is federally approved, contracted to go ahead and provide the information that's necessary to keep you compliant, to get you a working knowledge of your profession. We look at. Hold on. We look at. The way to look at the AHIP is this: we have what's known as the Managed Care Manual. That's the overall scope of Medicare and everything you want to know about it but was afraid to ask. And that's almost like a little God of God of Medicare. And then now we've got this thing known as the AHIP. That's like the Bible of Medicare. God, the Bible, and I'm not just this is a religious thing, but the Bible was a reflection of what God wants us to know in order for us to live well here on earth. Well, the AHIP is what the Medicare Managed Care Manual wants us to know so we can do our jobs in a professional manner. This AHIP should be online in our profession. This is our Bible. This is our time to understand. In years past, it's been pretty well, the same thing over. There hasn't been a whole lot of changes to the law. I've completed the AHIP, and folks, it took me a lot longer than normal to read through every slide and glean the information to every slide, because there's been some major changes to the Medicare landscape. So folks, I'm going to give you a very important, silver bullet. If you want to pass the AHIP, I want to give you the secret sauce. Hopefully you'll write this down, because this is a fail-safe system for you to pass the AHIP. Start at module 1 and read every slide. Learn it, live it, love it. It's just that's your responsibility as an insurance professional. And I can promise you, if you'll invest the time and look at every slide, understand what every slide is saying, the AHIP is going to be just a walk in the park for you, because you'll have the understanding. It's amazing. And we're going to talk about the nuts and bolts of this in just a minute. But every question at the end of every module is situational. It's not like, fill in the blank. It's, Mr. Wu is turning 65 and wants to know what the advantages of Medicare is. What are they? And the reason that those questions are situational is because they want you to understand the principles. So because there is no absolutes, there are no absolutes in Medicare. Every situation that you walk into is going to be different. There's times, even after 12 years, I come across a situation that leaves me scratching my head. I don't have a whole lot of hair to buffer that. So, but the thing is, it's because it's a dynamic environment, folks. That's why you have to know this. That is why you have to become a master of your market, the professional in your business, and read that. And as you do that, you're going to be able to approach this end of course test with confidence. So if you as your business model decide that you're going to take the AHIP because you only have to take it once for this year, because it's going to be good for the rest of 23 and all of 24, but you're going to take this now because you're going to be able to transmit it to all your different carriers. Buckle up. We're getting ready to get into the meat and taters here. Go ahead, Michael. Next slide. So to access AHIP, all you have to do is go to www.ahipmedicaretraining.com. It takes you to this beautiful little page right here. If you'll notice, there's 2 categories here, folks. If this is your first time, if you're brand new to AHIP, all you need to do is go right to the right. I don't know if there should put an arrow there, but where it says create a new account, registration, create a new account. And folks, at the upper right-hand corner, it's not on this page, it's marked on the next page, I believe. There's a user guide that you can download, print, that's going to walk you step by step on how you register for your new account. It's not rocket science, folks. You all register for everything from Amazon to Juju Beans on the internet. It's pretty much the same thing. So now, but if you're here, this isn't your first rodeo, you come back, then you're going to see the login screen, the user login, and what your username is going to be is going to be your NPN, and then the password that you set up. If for any reason you can't remember what your NPN is, you can always go to your any State Department of Insurance, CERCON, whatever, and Zipper and get your NPN. User password. If you have a headspace timing error or a senior moment, you can't remember your password because you're only accessing this thing once a year. You can do the password link there. But mine was saved. I was able to save mine. I just clicked on it, and all my information was already pre-populated. So next slide, Mike. Okay, once is never enough. Again, if you've registered in the past, all you gotta do is log in, to to the site. It'll take you right there to it. In most cases, it's already going to be populated. It is going to give you an opportunity at that time, folks, to update your profile. I moved since the last time, so I got a chance to update my profile. If you need to change your phone number, if you've got into an office situation, office or whatever, you're going to have that opportunity to go ahead and change your profile. So take the time to look at that, just to make sure all the information is correct. And then it's going to redirect you to pay for the AHIP. Well, the AHIP is $175. But here's something that you might want to consider. There are a lot of carriers out there that if you take the AHIP through their organization, and I'll give you an example of Humana, you can take the AHIP when it's released, I think it's on the 27th of June, and Humana is going to release the AHIP through their organization. You can take the AHIP and you'll be able to save $50. Also, if you take it through a carrier, once you sell a certain number, and each carrier is a little bit different, but it's typically 5. Once you sell certain policies within a certain period of time, and again, it's typically through AHIP, they reimburse you the $125 that you invested in the AHIP. So you have that opportunity. If you want to take it before it's released by the carriers, it's $175. Next slide. Again, we've already talked about this, folks. As if you're first rodeo, you go ahead and register. Your user ID is going to be your national producer number, and you get to create your password. So be creative. And then we got the user guide up the left-hand corner. Next slide, Michael. This is a slide that shows that we get the edit profile when you register, whether you register for the first time or you're coming back as an experienced, seasoned user. You got your edit profile. So also here we see whether you have the user guide. When you get into the modules, folks, and this is one of those, I'm stamping my foot 3 times real hard on the floor, up in this same corner, it's going to give you the opportunity to download slides. My sincere and most heartfelt recommendation to you is to download the slides. That's there. That's why the AHIP is an open book test. You can there's no proctor. You have downloadable slides. You can access these slides at any time. And so please make sure that you do that. And then you got some other GWiz information over here in the corner. Technical support over here on the right side. I should have put an arrow over here. Technical support if you get locked out because you forgot your password too many times. Of course, I'm not speaking from experience on that one. But you can email or call tech support and they can unlock your account. And it does work, trust me. Next slide, Michael. Once you paid your debt to society, you're going to be able to access the AHIP material once the payment's made. There's 5 modules to this, folks. It's going to be like Medicare basics, prescription drug plans, marketing, enrollments, and then the different types of plans. That's number 3. Folks, we've had so many changes to the law. We talked about a few on Wednesday. And everything that we talked about on Wednesday was spot on. And everything that we talked about on Wednesday is in that AHIP manual. So please, in those modules, I was surprised that the changes under the original Medicare module. I've done again. You get to the point where you think, I know everything. Not so much. There's been some things that have changed even with the basic Medicare. There's a Medicare Part E that I didn't know about. And I'm not going to spoil the fun on that. I'm going to let you look at the AHIP and figure out what Medicare Part E is. So that's the first time I've ever heard of that. So folks, the value, I'm repeating this because the value of this AHIP is what's going to develop you professionally. So anyway, the AHIP has 5 courses. And they average probably anywhere from 40 to 80 slides. And the way they've structured it this year, folks, it's a lot more user-friendly. It's more direct. The language is understandable. They give you some great examples. So it's really a platform now. It's better than it was last year. It's a platform now to where it can really, really develop you professionally. Especially if you're new to this is your first rodeo, if this is your first AEP, and right now you're looking at this elephant wondering how you're going to eat them. Well, here's your bites at a time. Because this is a great platform, especially for a new person that can't even spell MAPD. If you gave them the letters of order, gives them a great working knowledge of how the Medicare program works. So please take your time. At the end of each module, please listen to this portion. This is an open book test. Purpose of this whole course is instructional. It is not there to trip you. It is not there to try to catch you off guard. It is there to ensure that you know the principles of Medicare. The questions, there are 20 questions at the end of each module. Those questions are all situational. And the reason they're situational is because they want you to understand the principle behind what was covered in that module. And it says you're going to take that quiz as often as you like. Sometimes more is better. Don't just look at the correct answers, but go back and take the test over so it's ingrained in your mind. And I'm going to give you a hint. These questions themselves, everybody stomp your feet 3 times. These questions themselves are a perfect study guide. Next slide. Once you complete the 5 modules in every quiz, and by the way, those questions make a great study guide. You're going to be ready for the final exam. That final exam has a 2-hour time limit. There are 50 questions. So each module has 20 questions. 5 times 20 is 100. The test is 50 questions. And it's amazing how those questions, it seems like you've seen them before. So the quiz questions make this great study guide. You must pass with at least a 90%, which means you can have a total of 5 wrong answers. But if you have a really good study guide, I think you're going to have a difficult time missing 5 answers. You are allowed 3 attempts to achieve a passing score. If you do not do it on the 3rd attempt, you will not pass go, you will not collect your certificate, and you will not be able to sell Medicare for the next year. But folks, if you've done your job, if you've studied, and you passed the tests, and you have your study guide, or your quizzes, and you have your study guide, you should have no problem first time knocking it out of the park. Word to the wise. If you do, for some reason, have a major headspace and timing error, and that first one is a bolo, do not go to the second one until you consult your upline. Because the pressure to pass goes up exponentially for every attempt that you're not successful with. So, first time I took it, back when in the Stone Age, I didn't pass it the first time. I called my upline, and he told me what to do, how to work it better to where I can pass it the second time. Because you don't want that stress on you, folks. If for some reason you miss it, before you take aim and shoot again, get some adult supervision to help you, because it's going to be important.
Hey, Joe, can I add something?
No. Yeah. Go ahead.
This is Eddie.
Yeah.
If you're using a Windows 11 computer, it's just a marvel of technology. They had this tool called the clipping tool. And this is how you can create your study guide. At the end of your your module quiz, you have your 20 questions. You take your clipping tool that gave you the answers, the right ones and any incorrect ones, and you clip it and you put it in Microsoft Notes. And now you can go back and refer to it, because you'll have the actual questions and the answers for studying purposes.
Thank you, Eddie. We went into a little bit more detail than I did regarding that, but I think you got the spirit of the conversation. Next slide. Hey, tell them what else they've won, Johnny. At the end, the AHIP isn't it. When I refer to doing the AHIP, I'm referring to the test. Because I usually take it for granted that you're going to be doing everything to get to the test. So when I'm talking about, hey, when you finish the AHIP, I'm talking about when you finish that test for the AHIP, it's going to redirect you to a couple new segments. One's going to be anti-discrimination, which, folks, again, it doesn't matter what your political position is. It's a requirement. It's necessary because, the worst thing you want to do is be accused of cherry picking. Everybody that qualifies according to Medicare has the absolute equal right, say that 3 times real fast in the morning, equal right to enroll in these plans. And we need to respect that on all levels, whether you're an agent to an FMO to a carrier. That's why this is so important. It doesn't matter what your personal feelings are. You are a representative of the carrier, and everybody is to be treated equal, 100% down the line. No questions asked, no sugar sure, it needs to be done. And then you have your Medicare fraud, waste, and abuse. And folks, this is important too. The reason our industry seems to be, cartwheeling, into higher expenses and, limitations here and things, whatever, is because of fraud, waste, and abuse. There's even compensation programs for people that make that, identifiable. If they identify a situation, you're able to save the government money, you get anywhere from 15 to 30%, compensation as a thank you, if you're able to save the government money. So I'm not saying go out there and that's how you make your living. I'm just saying, it's that's the importance that the government looks at fraud, waste, and abuse. So we should know that. We should be able to identify that. And that's at all levels, whether it's out in the real world or within our organizations. So that's important, and to develop a strong compliance program. I'll tell you, folks, we are absolutely blessed as an organization to have somebody as dedicated to compliance as we have in Ellen. So, if you have a question or concern, she is absolutely the person to talk to. All right, you passed. Now what? So, okay, yeah. Once you pass, if you're doing the AHIP, you will go and you will actually. There's a transmit button at the bottom. You can transmit it, and if you already have a contract with your carriers, they'll be listed down there. Transmit to Cigna, transmit to Humana, transmit to whatever. Lucky Louie's Pawn Shop and Medicare Advantage Plan. Whatever you have, you can transmit it to those carriers. If you add a carrier later on, it's going to be able to transfer to those carriers as well. But and you don't need to go to insurance pay. All this is going to be tracked automatically at the carrier level, and then you can call your upline and let them know, hey, I passed the AHIP, and I'm so much smarter because I've done so. But folks, again, and that's the last slide. And folks, I am going to get on my soapbox. Just we've been given a sacred trust. We've been given the responsibility to go out there and help change lives and save lives. And the only way we can do that and do no harm is to know our business. We absolutely need to be insurance professionals, and we've been given an amazing tool with AHIP. Please go into the AHIP with the proper attitude. And yes, if somebody just thank you, Kay. Yes, you can use your AHIP as CE credits. And I failed to mention, thank you so much, Kay, for that. If you go up to the left-hand side of the home screen, you can actually click on it. It gives you a path. And actually, when you start the AHIP, it's going to ask you, do you want these as CE credits? And you'll go through. I've never done that personally. I've just gone out and done because again, it's another opportunity to me for the live and learn. So I've never taken those as AHIP credits. I just finished my CE and I just did all 24 hours so I can hone my skills a little bit more with continuing education. But you can use your AHIP as CE credits. So yeah, that's going to be your option to do that. But folks,
yeah, Joe, and I did that 2 years in a row, and it saved me from having to do 8 more credits. I highly recommend that you do it, because I came down to the wire and I almost didn't make it, and I would have lost my license. So those 8 credits are a lifesaver, because you'll get 4 for each year.
Right. Did you, how much, did it cost anything for the CE credits?
Yeah, I think it was like $35.
Okay. You can see in with my, I went to webs, and not, this isn't a talk about CE credits, but I was able to get all 24 for like $50. So, so it's, I mean, it's up to you guys. And the thing is, this is an educational platform. This is an instructional platform. So therefore, you are able to get CE credits. And yes, it does take 8. Thank you, Eddie, for that. Four credits per year takes off 8 hours. You only lessen you with your 3 hours of ethics and 15 hours of other gee whiz, need to know stuff. So, but folks, the AHIP is a great platform. You need to read it this year. This is my closing shot over the bow, because I'm being redundant. But, repetition makes for rote memory. So, but folks, this is, it is it's important every year to do this the right way. But it is absolutely vitally important that you do it this year. Take the time, grab a sandwich, put on soft music. Do not drink alcohol during the time, Diet Coke, whatever, because things start to get blurry. But sit down, relax, smoke a pipe, put on an ascot, whatever, and read this stuff. It's vitally important that you read and get to know, because there have been so many rule changes, and those rule changes are spelled out perfectly, very understandably. It's all black and white. So there is no gray area. It lets you know specifically what you can and cannot do. So again, welcome to certification 2023 style, and I hope you guys have a great time living, learning, and going forth and conquer.
Well, thanks, Joe. That was great. I think 2 years ago we had a similar segment, and that's of course on our YouTube training segment as well, our YouTube training channel. But this was cool. If you haven't taken AHIP yet, since it literally just launched, was that yesterday or 2 days ago, you're not behind the 8 ball, but you definitely want to jump on it when you feel prepared. I would certainly say, as I've been here 3 years, every year, people wait until mid-September, maybe early October, before they start taking recertifications seriously. And that's not only with CMS, but that's also with all the carriers and everything. Please don't wait. If you feel even the slightest bit hesitant to launch with AHIP, to get started, connect with your upline. They'll help you feel more confident so you can pass on the first try. If you're direct with Global, you've got myself, you've got Joe, you've got Nick, you've got Tony, you've got our whole back office team at your disposal. Please tap one of us for information. If you're feeling even the slightest bit hesitant, we can definitely get you more confident. I mean, for one thing, you don't want to do anything if you don't feel confident about it, but that's just generally speaking. But for AHIP, there's no reason to not feel confident about it. It's an open note test. And for those who haven't done this before, I think you'll come to find, yes, it is a lot of information, and perhaps it's a little overwhelming at the beginning, but this segment, along with other one-off trainings, are designed to make you feel more confident. So having said that, I do want to make sure, there was something that was said sort of, I don't know, like 10 minutes ago or something. I didn't want to jump in and derail the train, but you do get 3 attempts at your at passing the AHIP for every 175 you spend, right? And it's not necessarily the dollar amount, but when you pay to take the AHIP, you get 3 attempts. Let's pretend you fail 3 times. You can pay again and have another 3 attempts.
It says right here online that if you fail 3 times, you can re-enroll and purchase another set of 3 attempts. However, many carriers will not accept 3 failures in a given year and may prohibit you from selling their product during that plan year.
There you go. So the answer was a hybrid of both. Thank you who was that?
Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry. Yeah, so it's right there. So we were both right, and we were both kind of wrong, in error. But so we were both right. There you go, folks. Again, there's honestly, guys, if you do your job, if you do this right, you will never have to worry about whether you purchase one, they take it or whatever, because you're going to get this done right the first time. It's always amazing how people have enough time to do things right the second time. If you just did it right the first time, and I'm not saying things don't happen, especially a new person gets overwhelmed with so much information. I understand that. And that's why you have an upline. That's why you get the study guides that we're talking about. That's why you take the time and learn it, especially your first time. But you do have folks that have a vested interest in your success. Use them. That's what they're there for. If this is your first time taking the AHIP, let us show you that it's not a monster under a bed. It's somebody that's going to plow the road for you and make you a better professional.
Hey, Joe.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask if, I've had agents, I tell my agents when they're taking the AHIP to let me know, because I will stay on standby when they get stuck on questions, and then they can call me and we can talk through it and help them come to the right answer on their own. Is there a problem with that?
So long as you're
So
long as you are not giving them the answer, because you by law you are prohibited from taking the test for someone. Okay, I mean that's a lose your license, go to Medicare jail offense, right? So long as you're not giving them the answer, but you help them reason through the answer, yeah, that's fine.
Joe, I think you had a great opening statement. AHIP kind of turns into this big hairy monster, like you said. And every year people are like, man, I hate this. How do I just check this off my list and get it over with? But ideally, this is designed to educate everybody in the industry from the same point. If you look at this as, oh boy, how can I best serve my people now? And obviously, like that's no one's going to be looking forward to a test necessarily. But ideally, you're looking at this as this year's updates, not crap, I got to do this again.
Right.
Ugh. It's a mentality thing. If you go into it with that attitude, of course it's going to suck. You might fail that first time. Of course. You go into it with the positive mindset, you really actually pay attention. This isn't the health class in 8th grade where everybody's laughing at everything. This is English 101. You actually have to pay attention to this because it's the foundation for the next year.
Yeah. And this isn't like, well, this is click through the slides and get to the quiz and get it done. That's not the purpose of this. If you're doing that, I'm sorry, you're not a professional. If you're doing that, I'm sorry. I wouldn't let you sell insurance, to my dead grandmother, because you don't know what you're doing. I don't care if you've been doing this for 100 years. Because, and again, guys, the tendency is to do that, because especially with the first 3 modules. But like I said, I never knew there was a Medicare Part D. And this there, in big bold print. I'm like, well, I just got smarter. And it's all about attitude, guys. Everybody repeat after me. You don't have to get offline, but just repeat or off mute. But just everybody, AHIP is my friend. So if you do that, I think everybody's going to have a pretty good opportunity passing this thing.
That's good stuff. Anybody else? Comments, concerns? Oh, I do see in the chat. So FYI, there are discounts everywhere for AHIP. Some carriers offer it, like we were saying. Some agencies offer it.
Well, I just wanted to say that whatever your book of business is, whatever money you made this year is, you can consider that you're being paid that money to take this test. Because if you don't pass that test, you can lose that money. And I think that's big enough motivator.
Why not just get it over with? Why let that hang over your head? That's crazy. Take a weekend, send the family to the movies, sit down, grab a Diet Coke, and just get it done. It's not, and I'm telling you, the way it's structured, I mean, you might have 50 slides there. I took notes on every slide so I can refer back to my notes. And when I got to the quizzes, I was able to pass the quizzes. I think I missed a couple of questions out of the 100. went back and restudied it, and now I have a good working knowledge of it. It's the reason people get intimidated by tests is because they don't take the time to learn the material. It's just that simple. If I were to ask you the same questions on that, for you that have been here the longest, if I were to ask you the same questions in a more direct way that are on the AHIP, you'd be able to answer them probably 100%. Barring the fact that, it's not a change in the law. So guys, this is a good thing. Approach it with the right attitude. This is part of your job. This is what separates you from being a hack to being a insurance professional, a professional benefits advisor, because you know what you're talking about. You can steer people in the right direction. You never have to worry about your E&O. You never have to worry about Medicare coming down and sanctioning you or making you account for what your actions were. Hooray! It's AHIP season.